Welcome back to the Greenhorn Photo Taker. I'm here today to describe my first photography. Future Lou from the editing room here. Sorry for the continuity problem. I noticed that this Greenhorn Photo Taker really messed up the video. The whole first segment was completely out of focus, focusing only on my laptop. So here is a new reintroduction that hopefully sets the stage. I'm working on a photography project. This is the first time I've ever done anything of the sort. And I think the audience, or the cross-section of the audience of those who will watch this video and care about the output of the photography project, is probably one lone family in Jefferson, New Jersey. But the process of going through this and creating the book, looking at old box scores, looking at stats, curating the photos. It was difficult, but really enjoyable and really memorable. So I want to take you through that process in this video. And I'm calling this a project, but if you have this with some sort of pessimism in mind, I'm really just creating a Snapfish memory book. I think it's called Snapfish. And if you don't know what that is, think of 10 years ago when you take your family to Disney, maybe 15 years ago, and before the true advent of Instagram and Facebook social media where everything's shared online, you would probably just create a memory book. Throw a bunch of photos quickly into the soft cover book, do it online, and a couple days later you'd have a book that sat on a shelf forever. I have 30 of them, and I shouldn't say forever. There's a place for these. I did enjoy them, and I still enjoy looking at them. But they weren't meant to be high-quality memory keepsakes. I'd like to think I upped the ante a bit, just a bit. So let me set the stage for this photography project explanation. My daughter played basketball for the local high school team 4 of the past 5 years. So she's a freshman in college now. This past high school season, she did not participate. That did not stop me from going to as many games as I could, taking thousands of photos. I really have a vested interest in the outcome of this team. But through the years, I realized while there are banners that describe, or not even describe, that label the years they may have won a state sectional title, or maybe a few individuals have some career milestones hanging in the gym, nothing captures the heart and soul of the individual players and coaches that went into these championship seasons. I mean, there are so many games where they left their heart and souls and sometimes bodies on the line or on the floor and, trying to do their utmost to get to a win and to get to a championship. And I wanted to find a way to capture that and share that. And maybe it's the sense of permanency. Like, I now remember, and probably will remember forever because of this research, that a player called Bridget, against a team that we lose to every single year, Morristown, they usually beat us up pretty good. Bridget had 9 points in this loss, and it was the one time that she led the team in scoring in her career. And it happened to be against this juggernaut team, Morristown, right? That's something that's fun to call out. And it turned out I've taken over 50,000 photos of this team over the past 5 years. And sure, while parents have somewhere in their inboxes, I'm sure, a buried link that they've long forgotten about, this is something that'll be more permanent and more like a historical in nature to take one through the journey of this Jefferson Falcon championship era. The idea is to donate this book to the school in some fashion, maybe to the athletic director or the coach. I wanted to stay on premise, I think, but at the same time, my wife is telling me, Lou, when you see the book, you're going to love it. You're going to want it. So maybe I'll have to order a second copy and keep it for myself too. All right, let's get into the explanation. We'll go back to the original footage. Sorry for the interruption. Probably makes sense to first talk about the statistics of this. So what you see on the screen now is my own, I'll call it a database. It's really just an Excel sheet of the historical record of each game that the team has played since 2020, since that 2020-21 season. And what I've always had this, right? I didn't create this database for the project. I had it just for fun, so I could, tell the other dads, the last time they shot 47% from the field was this game. And that's just a talking point, stat of the day type stuff. And this is really the beginning point of how the statistics of the book came to be. But you can't just have a spreadsheet in a photo book. So I had to come up with a way to make it look more professional and more readable, maybe is the better way to phrase it. So to do that, I created these little graphics. And they're interspersed throughout the book. So I'm not going to go through each one of these, but for instance, this is the 3 championship teams. This is how their opponents were ranked in the finals according to Max Preps. So if we take the last specific year that they won, in the first round they faced Dumont, which a team was ranked 201. Then they faced Pequannock, ranked 83, Westwood 86, etc. How they fared against their opponents that were in the top 100, etc. So just a way to compare the different championship teams across the years. There's also, of course, who did what in those championship games. So here, just who were the leaders, maybe some extra tidbits in each one of the finals state championship runs. So not just the finals, but round 1, round 2, round 3, round 4 of each individual game. And really, these just serve as memory joggers. Obviously, in the last game, everyone's going to remember the team shot well. But do you remember they shot 63% in the finals? I mean, that's unheard of. That is really an amazing call out. They played so well in that game, and it was such a hard-fought game, 66-62. Some other graphics, and what I would do is I would just take a screenshot of these and input them into the book as almost like a photograph. Here we have notable occurrences by each season, and this was difficult because I had to go through the box score and really discover or rediscover who had the most points in every single game, who had the most rebounds in every single game, who had the most blocks in every single game. So this took the majority of the time going into each one of the box scores on a website that has all the team stats and really trying to rediscover season by season, game by game, what happened. And I have a sheet for that in a second we'll get to. Here are the individual game achievements of each specific year. So it just goes through each one of these. So when you're flipping through the book, maybe one day you're going to focus on rebounds, and the next day you can focus on assists. You can see Cass easily here was our highest assist maker of that season. The next one is also very fun. Here are the career leaders. Tisma here didn't play all 5 of these years. She was a little bit earlier and graduated, I guess, 3 years ago. Her career stats, even though they might fall outside this championship era, are included. This is more for fun than anything. Tidbits about, hey, what is their record by each day of the week? Meaningless, but just fun to put in there. Here are some of the more noteworthy accomplishments. What was their highest margin of victory? What instance did they have the fewest points scored? Things like that. The time free throws won the game. This was in a playoff game against Pequannock. They only won by 11. But they were 12 of 15 from the free throw line, which is a really interesting call out. They were clearly better than Pequannock that year, and they should have won that game. But if they didn't shoot an abnormally high percentage from the foul line, they easily could have lost. So things like that, I hope to jog people's memories when they're flipping through the book. Here are the individual seasonal leaders in each category. Who had the most points in 2004, 2005 versus the previous years? Who had the most deflections, the most rebounds, whether they're offensive and defensive? And here's the database. I keep on calling it a database. Here's the spreadsheet of the individual performances. So I would go to the Max Preps website. I would open up a box score. Anytime somebody had more than 15 points, more than 4 threes, more than 10 rebounds, more than 5 assists, etc., and also who the high scorer was for that game. So I opened up every single one of these box scores for every single one of these games going back to 5 years in order to figure this out. That was not easy, and that took several weeks to go through. And then where you see the green, this is where I knew I had taken some photos, game photos of that specific game. And we'll get to that in a little bit. I would go back to my photo albums that I have online, and I would see, hey, I took pictures against Madison back in December of 21. So I knew that I probably had a picture of Emily scoring 16 and hitting one of her threes. And that would just help guide me to what I could put in the book. Next up are the photos themselves. So I said I took over 50,000 photos, and that's absolutely true. But I didn't save all 50,000. So my process would be, I would take, 1,000 pictures of each game, and then look through them to only save and share the best 100 to 150 or so. So let's say someone was, driving the lane for a layup. I might take a burst of 30 or 40 shots for that drive. I would only save the one that was my favorite of that bunch. Unless it was something really, really crazy, I would not save the burst. And that's what I would share with the parents. So let's take the championship game from a couple years ago. I now have to go through and decide which one of these photos are appropriate to put in the book. So first thing I definitely want to do in a situation like this, I'd go back and look at the achievement list. So against Pequannock, the notable games, I know I definitely want to feature Emily, Amanda, Kylie, Bryn, etc., because they are the ones who had the most impact on that game according to the box score. So I would go through and look for individual photos of these players, download them to a specific folder, and then move on to the next game really quickly. Maybe take 20 shots of a particular game, download them, and save them for later. I don't have my external drive plugged in to show you. I'll be right back. I definitely need a better way to handle media. I now have 3 external hard drives with all my old files on it, and I don't love the process of storing these. I know it's going to fail one day, or one of them is going to fail. It's just going to be heartbreaking. Okay, so we were talking about the photos. So if you're looking at 2022-2023 season, we're looking at the Pequannock game. Here's all the photos I thought were appropriate or possible to share in the book. And only the ones that I renamed are the ones that I actually used in the book. So I did this for every game that I had photos for throughout the years. What's really important to me is try to have every player represented as much as possible. That was not easy. So it's high school sports. Some players start, some players don't. So striking the balance of making sure that someone who didn't play much at least has a photo for that regular season mentioned somewhere was important to me, but then balance it between, I hate to say that, they may not have been as important and then would therefore get less photos than a starter who was scoring more points or getting more rebounds or more assists or what have you. So that was a difficult balance for me to strike, especially since, I love all these kids. I feel like we're a close-knit family. The parents and the team and the players. And I never wanted to insult anybody. Let's talk about the book itself. So I originally wanted to use my professional software line called Saal, S-A-A-L, that really does some quality work. I really like the prints that come out of Saal. But once I laid out how I wanted the book to look, where I'd have X amount of pages for each season, whether it's the regular season, whether it's playoffs, it ended up being, 59 pages. And to create a 59-page hardcover book, 11 by 14 with Saul, was something like $450. And that just was too much. That was too expensive for it to be worth it to me. So I started to look at the Snapfish types. And the one that always came out as the highest rated, and we'll see how true it is Mixbook. So I started fooling around with Mixbook, and went through it page by page. I started towards the later end of the career of these girls. So I started with a season I was intimately familiar with. Not this previous season, but the one before that, the one where my daughter played for the last time. And just tried to lay out each page the way it would make sense and to tell a story. And then I'd use that experience to do some of the years where I didn't have a lot of photos. The first layout are regular season picks. And this is where I took an opportunity to make sure that everybody was represented where possible. And not every single photo in this game was from an important moment. But it is important in the sense that just to give you a feel of, who played that season, what the schedule was, what some of the stats were for that individual season. Then we get into the achievements of the regular season. This is where I had the most fun, almost by far. The playoffs are great, but this is where I had the most fun too. Now, it's going to be hard to read, but each one of these pages is 11 by 14. So I'm hoping the text is large enough to be very legible when you're looking at the book. What you see on the screen right now, obviously, is zoomed out a little bit. So I found those individual moments on that spreadsheet and noted who did what. For example, Cassidy Ball against Morris Knowles on January 30th, she scored 19, and I had a shot of her taking a jump shot. Emily Poulos, my daughter, against High Point on January 7th, she hit 6 threes, wow, and had 5 deflections. So, the starting point was that spreadsheet to see exactly who accomplished what, and if I had a photo of that, I included it. So there were hundreds of accomplishments that I don't have photos for that didn't make it into this layout. These are the only ones where I had specific photos. And then I would, maybe label what the best win was. Here Grace had 22 points and 4 threes, things like that. It was such a pleasure to go back through these box scores and look at specific moments. And then we get into each one of the playoff pages. So for each year, there is a single page dedicated to the first round of states and a single page dedicated to the second round of states. In this specific game against Dumont, Emma had 5 rebounds, which is pretty cool as a guard to get 5 boards, so that was included. And this one, Cass had 13 points with 6 assists and 6 rebounds. If I had a picture that I particularly liked, like Emily has a great expression on her face here, trying to fight for a loose ball, that was included as well. For the next 2 rounds, since you're getting closer to the finals, round 3 has a full 2-page layout. Same thing, describing moments. And seeing something like Cass cheer on Emily after she hit a shot, that's amazing. That's amazing. I never want to forget things like that. Because the kids fought so hard for each other. And when I captured a moment that shows their excitement, that's just the best. Here, the bench is up on their feet, complaining about a foul call or something. I don't remember this moment exactly what, but you could tell they're like, what the heck is going on? Or here with Kai, just making sure that her friend and teammate Emma is okay. Those moments are for me to treasure forever. And then the finals has another spread just like it. What I did do as well, each finals spread has the same background. Each third round spread has the same background. So there was some continuity as you flip through. Maybe it'll just mentally jog people in the back of their minds that, oh yeah, I saw a page like this, from the previous season. I don't know if anyone will notice, but I did it that way. Same thing, I'm not going to go into each one of these pictures. Is there anyone? Oh, here is Jefferson has stands behind each of the backboards, which is very unusual for high school sports. So when you're an opponent and you're taking a free throw, you're looking at these crazy screaming fans, all decked out in the same color t-shirt, or maybe they have face paint on. And I personally think it really made a difference. So I just wanted to call out the fans for being, amazing. And then if they won the championship, which obviously not every year that occurred, if they won, there's a separate spread of celebration photos of what happened. This is not the same each year. I just happened to have an individual photo of each player cutting down their piece of the net and wanted to include that just as a memory. So that's how the entire book went. And you just repeat the process for that specific year. And then on the last pages, I included the year-by-year leaders, the career leaders, and then some of these interesting stats that I showed you a little bit earlier. So I can't wait to see how this book comes out. Maybe I'll put out a quick YouTube short when it does come out. It should be here in a couple weeks. All right, thanks for watching. I can't believe you're still with me. I'll let you know how the project turns out in a couple of weeks. And if all goes well, I will be extremely satisfied with how Mixbook works. Thanks for watching. Get out and explore.